thank you for renting a stand-up board from us. This video is required if you're renting a board for the first time. We want to just make sure that you know the basic safety instructions and how to use the board properly, how to handle the boards. So, first of all, safety is the most important thing. We want to make sure we have a liability waiver that you have to sign at the shop. So basically you're saying that you can swim, it's at your own risk, and if you damage the board you have to pay for repairs. Those are the basic points of the liability waiver, and that we're not liable if anything happens to you or someone else as a result of your actions. And then let me go over the basics of handling your board. So all our boards have a hand carry handle in the middle. So you want to use that. Put the board on the side. You want to stand away on the side away from the handle. Lift up the board with the handle and carry the board. Please do not drag the board on the ground. The paint on the boards is kind of like car paint. It gets scratched up easily. We mark any damages on the boards before you take it out. And if you come back with new scratches or dents or damages or dings, we will charge you for the basics of stand-up paddling. So first of all, carrying the board in and out of the water. You always want to carry it. Don't drag it on the beach. Don't scratch it. The little rocks in the beach will scratch the paint. So please be careful when you handle it. The lift-up handle makes it very easy to carry. All the Blue Planet boards have this lift-up handle now. So carry the board into the water to where the fin clears the sand. So make sure you go deep enough so the fin won't touch when you jump on the board. So and then when you're first starting out, you can get on your knees, and the handle is a good indicator for the center point of the board. So that's where you want your feet to be, right around the handle, not too far forward, not too far back. You want your feet to be parallel, pointing forward, a little bit more than shoulder width apart, right around where the handle is. So what you can do first is get on your knees and take a couple strokes on your knees. And as soon as the board's moving, it'll be more stable than if you're just standing still. So after you take a couple strokes, put the paddle in front of you, get up on both feet, stand up and put the paddle in the water right away and start paddling. So you wanna always use that paddle for balance. If you do lose your balance, you can use your paddle to stabilize you. So always use that paddle for stability, and you can push down on it, and you can also lift up on it to keep you stable. And you want to take a couple strokes on one side, then switch sides and take a few strokes on the other side. That way the board will end up going straight. Looking straight from the front, the paddle should be straight up and down in the water like this. You don't want to hold the paddle diagonally out to the side. You want to get the paddle straight up and down and pull it back in a straight line, straight towards the back. You don't want it out to the side because this is a steering stroke and that'll make the board turn more. Another thing is you want to keep your stroke forward, reach forward with the paddle, and end the stroke at your feet. By the time you get to your feet, the paddle should come back out and go back forward again. Don't just paddle way back here and throw water behind you. This is very inefficient. Another mistake that a lot of beginners do is holding the paddle backwards like this. The paddle is not an ice cream scoop or something. You want to hold it with the blade angled forward always. So that's important to hold the angle the blade the correct way. And if you have trouble balancing standing up, you can always get on your knees and paddle on your knees. And also if you have a hard time turning the board standing up, you can get on your knees and do it on your knees. Also another tip for when you're standing up and you have a hard time balancing, don't look at your feet, don't do this. Try to get up, straighten up, and look at the horizon. That'll help you find your balance, and always put the paddle in the water and get the board moving. That'll make it more stable. Okay, so those are the basics of getting up and paddling. So now to turn, if you keep paddling on one side, the board will slowly turn around like this. And to turn faster, you can also paddle backwards on the opposite side. So I'm going to take a couple strokes backwards on this side. That'll make the board come around. Once I start moving backwards, I can switch sides again, paddle forward on the opposite side. So practice this in the deep water. Practice the turning before you get to the shallow reef. So those are the basics of turning. Another thing is like I said, when you want to go forward, straight forward, you want to pull the paddle straight back. If you want to make a turn, you can put the paddle blade angled out and make like a curved stroke. That'll make your board turn faster. So you angle the blade out, push kind of away from the nose and then back towards the tail. Same thing on the opposite side. You pull it out away from the tail and then forward on the nose. Make like a half circle motion with the blade. That'll make your board turn better. And you can do all this without moving your feet at all. You stay right in the middle of the board and just turn the board with your paddle strokes. So practice that, turning the board. And the same thing if you're on your knees, same thing, that's how you turn the board. Just use your paddle strokes. And the further away you get from the board, the more of a curved stroke you make, the more the board's going to turn. So another thing is when you're sitting on or kneeling on the board, don't try to hold the handle up here. Hold the paddle shorter. That'll make it easier to paddle on your knees. You don't have to hold the paddle all the way at the top. And then another thing is switching sides. You know, when you paddle on one side, when you switch sides, don't try to do it without switching your hands. Always switch your bottom hand when you change sides. So one side, other side. All right, so let's talk real quick about how to come into the beach. So as you approach the beach, you don't want to run into the sand. So what you do is, as you're moving towards the beach, you can get on your knees, and you can get pretty close to the sand, but don't hit the sand with the front of your board because you don't want to scratch the nose. Get off in like knee-deep water or maybe waist-deep water, and then hold the paddle in one hand, or you can put it in the water next to you. Lift the board up on one rail away from you. Grab the center handle, and then take the paddle in the other hand, and you can lift the whole thing up and then carry it out of the water. And now it's best to carry it all the way up to the car to keep it from getting sandy. And also, if it's windy, you want to point the nose of the board straight into the wind. Like right now, the wind's coming from this direction. So what I'm going to do is point it straight into the wind. It doesn't really matter if it's the nose or the tail of the board, but you want to angle the board into the wind, because if I have it like this, I can walk it without the wind affecting it very much. If I have it sideways, it's going to try to blow me over this way. If I have it this way, the board's going to be blowing away that way.